Abby Hall passed me and was, we were chatting a little bit, and she was being so kind. And I just I had zero energy, and couldn't even manage to kind of hang on to her. And I got to the top there and, had to sit down and felt dizzy, and another runner came up and he collapsed. Oh, wow. It was just carnage. There was another runner there. She was throwing up and laying down. It was so brutal.
Hello, Joey.
Hello, Norman.
Here we are once again.
Here we are. Busy week.
Yes. Busy week. Talking to lots of people.
We sure are.
It's happening with GottaRunRacing.
Well, a newsletter went out this week. So if you used to get our newsletters, then you should be checking your inbox. And if not, you can sign up at GottaRunRacing to get our newsletters. And it's exciting to see that there are some races on the Ontario calendar coming up soon. Finally,
some are opening up, which is great.
And we are hoping that we will be able to obtain permits from our venues.
Cool.
Each venue is different, and each municipality is different, and they all have their own interpretations. So we're working our magic and with our partners to try to secure those permits so that we can bring you guys some news.
Cool. And what's happening with We Run the North?
We Run the North. We're in the Maritimes, New Brunswick.
Nice.
We had a young fellow from New Brunswick actually ride the 10K and posted to Instagram yesterday. His name was Corey.
Cool. And the park is the Fundy.
Fundy, yes.
Yeah, Fundy.
Very recognizable. The big clay statue-looking rocks in the coastline.
And the Monarch Virtual still fluttering away.
It is. And there's still a few spots in the actual relay coming this September. Specifically, there's some 50K spots that we are really needing to fill. So if you're interested in that, check out themonarchultra.com.
Cool. And who was on the podcast today?
Well, it's Kat Drew.
Nice.
And who is she, you might ask?
Well, came across her name because she came 7th at Western States in 2019, which got her back into this year event.
Right.
And upon further research, she's quite the Canadian, probably one of our best ultra runners.
That's right.
Yeah, so I can't wait to hear about her 2019 and what happened this year in 2021 and what's going to be happening next with her. Cool. Come on up. Hello, Kat. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
We first came across your name because you came 7th place at Western States in 2019, which you got you back. Oh, sorry, 8th place.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. 8th place.
Demoted myself.
Yeah. And that got you back into this year's Western States. But before that, you have quite the running resume. So let's first talk about how you first got into running.
Yeah, well, I've been running kind of since elementary school, but I didn't run seriously in high school. I wasn't a track athlete or anything. I actually was a dancer, but always kind of ran here and there. Like I did cross country in middle school and always kind of enjoyed running. But yeah, wasn't a competitive runner in high school or college or anything. And then when I moved to Vancouver, I'm from Vancouver Island. When I moved to Vancouver, I guess that was in 2009, I decided to join the running room, one of their run clinics, because I wanted to run a half marathon. And I also just wanted to meet people in Vancouver. So I did a couple of half marathons, and that was kind of like my max on distance. I was like, I'm never running a full marathon. That sounds awful. And that didn't last. One of my friends in the running clinic managed to convince me to train for the full marathon. And then I did that, which was Victoria Marathon. And I think I was about 35 seconds shy of qualifying for Boston.
Was that your goal in that race to qualify?
No. No, I was like, I'm only doing this once. But then I was so close to qualifying for Boston. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, you have to go back. And I was like, okay, I'll do another one. And then ran and qualified for Boston, and did the Boston Marathon. And then ran like quite a few marathons. And it wasn't until, I guess, probably in 2012, I met my friend Michelle Ford. We were both working at a restaurant, like a fancy French cheese restaurant. And she was really into trail running. And so she took me out on my first trail run on the North Shore.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of where I fell in love with trail running. And we decided, we actually started a run club with her husband and another friend, Cody Callan.
Mm-hmm.
We started Fraser Street Run Club. And through that, we decided it would be a great idea to do the Squamish 50 kilometer as our first ultra.
That's Squamish 50K. That's no joke.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that go?
It went terrible. I like at that point in my life, I wasn't really training seriously. Like for my first marathons, I think I maybe ran 3 or 4 times a week. So training didn't go well for the Squamish 50K. And then it definitely reflected in how my race went. Like I was great for the first half and probably went out too fast. I didn't have any idea what I was doing and had no idea about pacing a 50-kilometer trail run. And then like after that halfway point where you kind of leave Quest University, it all went downhill. And I think at one point I was just like, oh, maybe if a cougar comes out and bites my leg, like I'll be able to stop running. And, it was just
that would be
terrible.
A good thing.
Yeah.
That would be a good thing. Okay.
Yeah.
3 years later, you go and take on Zion.
100 mile.
100 mile. Was that your first 100 miler?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Woo. Yeah, it's an awesome one.
We are familiar with Zion. So again, and you did exceptionally well at Zion, coming in first place, winning this thing. Tell us how that went from Squamish to Zion winning. Wow.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Well, I had actually done the 100K the year before. And then we decided with our run club to go back because we just loved the race and the atmosphere of the race and the location of the race so much. I think we probably had maybe like 15 friends come down and do, like, everyone was doing different distances. So I went into that one not like I wanted to do well. And I think I had a little bit more of a competitive mindset than my first 50K, especially considering I kind of knew the course from the year before and I got second in the 100K. So I kind of, I was like, well, maybe like, why not go for podium finish?
Right.
And then kind of leading up to that race, the weather wasn't looking very good. And we actually they were sending emails, the few days out being like, we don't know if we'll be able to hold the race because the rains were going to come. And it gets so, I don't know if you had any experience with the rain there, but it just like the mud gets caked onto your shoes and ruins the trail.
I think we were there in 17, were we not?
Yeah. 20.
So we heard all about heard all about it. Yeah.
But we got lucky.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a little bit of rain, but it didn't come until the end of the race where it was just like 5 pounds of mud caked onto your shoe. But that one, I think I started taking the lead maybe like 100K in or something. And I picked up my pacer who was pacing me for 60 kilometers. He had never run more than 30 kilometers. Because we had a little bit of a pacer shortage because so many of our friends were running the race.
Of course.
And so I picked him up at 100K and he had his like race pack on, but strapped to it, he had a Ziploc of pizza attached to his pack. It was
Were
quite
you chasing
hilarious.
that? Were you chasing the pizza?
I should have been. No, but it was for him. I didn't have any of the pizza until the end. But yeah, I think at some points we always joke that I ended up pacing him a little bit because he had never run more than 60K. It was a real team effort. But yeah, the last, because in the 100-mile, you do the loops at the end from that one. So those are tedious. And then you kind of head out for the last 6 miles. And we had an idea that the second woman was kind of on my tail and you could kind of see headlights in the back, but never really sure where they were because there were so many zigzags in that course. And then we were slipping because of the mud. And I was just like, Kayla was like, we got to go. Like, I don't know if she's like 500 meters behind me or kilometer, like we just got to hustle. And luckily she didn't finish that much further, but I managed to keep the lead on that race. But it was really exciting to come in first. It was pretty anticlimactic at the finish line because it was raining and it was like, I don't know, 5 a.m. So no one was really around, but it was fun.
So after Zion, when was Western sort of on your to-do list? How did that come about?
Because I'm curious, because you got a ticket for Zion. Did you not? Did you put in the lottery for 2017 or?
I didn't have a ticket for Zion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was just kind of a straight up registration. But our friends are the same group of friends. We had all kind of said, like, if one of us could get into, we did get tickets for Zion, for Western States. Sorry. Yeah. So after that, we said we all entered, and being kind of naive, we're like, oh, well, one of us will get in. And, and then we said that if one got in, then we'd all go down and crew. And no one got in. No one got in. Shocker. Yeah. So that didn't happen, but we all kind of were like, well, if this ever happens, like, we'll definitely all go down. And then I didn't really think that I could get in to Western States through a golden ticket. But I kind of started toying with the idea around 2018, and kind of talked with my coach about it. And he was like, oh yeah, for sure. Why not go for a ticket and see if you can get in that way. So I kind of looked at the options, which there were way more options at that point. I think there were 5 or 6 race options because Sean O'Brien was still part of it. But I decided to go for Bandera.
Right.
But did you know who was going to be there that year? Because you had some really stiff competition. Or did you even know who they were? Because I'm talking about Casey Lichtai and Brittany was there. Did you even know who they were?
Yeah. Like at that point, not really. And because I was kind of oblivious to what was going on. And then I was like leading up to the race, I was like, oh crap, this is a steep, this is a stacked race. And so I was like, okay, whatever, just do as best you can. And that's all you can do.
Right.
And I managed to come in third, which I was really surprised. Obviously, I wanted to come in top 2 to get that ticket, but I was also really stoked on being able to place third in that field.
Yeah, right. So that's a huge confidence boost.
Yeah. Yeah. But even I think I said to my partner, Jeremy, after that, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to hold off on any more golden ticket races. Like, that was so stressful. I don't think I'm ready to do another one. But then my coach, David, was like, you know what, if you can, like, try and get to Canyons in April. And I was like, okay, well, I may as well try.
Now, Canyons is a completely different race altogether than Bandera. Now you're dealing with canyons,
elevation,
and
climbing,
and then heat. Yeah. So tell us, how did you feel about how going into that race? How did you feel, basically?
I felt quite nervous again. I felt pretty like confident with my training and fitness levels. But I don't think I was as nervous going into canyons as I was for Bandera. I think I was like a little bit more relaxed and just thinking, okay, well, just do the best you can and see what the outcome is. I really wasn't expecting to win that. And then, Kim Magnus, the other Canadian, and I, we shared basically the first 50 kilometers together. Wow. Which was really cool because we both normally like run races by ourselves. And we were like, "Whoa, this is awesome." And we said to each other, probably maybe like a quarter way into the race, we're like, "Oh, this would be so awesome if we snagged the 2 golden tickets."
Yeah.
And we both managed to snag those golden tickets. And it was kind of unreal. Like I really, going into that, had no idea what the outcome was going to be. And I definitely did not think I was going to win that race.
Right.
And it was really cool coming into the finish line and getting the golden ticket.
Well, all you had to do was just lock arms with each other and nobody else passed.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about Western States 2019. I guess now you're back into California and you had a great day that day.
All the chips fell into place.
Everything fell into place. And of course your coach knew that all along, right? David knew that all along. Yeah.
Yeah.
So take us through that day at Western States 2019.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I went in definitely wanting to do well and like had goals. I was like, well, it'd be amazing if I could place top 10. But I also wanted to go in with the mindset that like it's just a celebration to run this race. So if my goal wasn't being met, then who cares? Like just enjoy the day.
Right.
Because of all the effort it takes to get there. I didn't want to be disappointed if that wasn't happening. But I did definitely was like, okay, like my A goal is to get in top 10 so I can maybe come back the next year.
Right.
Going into that, into the day, I think I was maybe in like between top 10 or like between 10 and 20th place for the most part. And then kind of coming into Forest Hill, a bunch of us women came in together, and it was kind of like between like, let's say like 8th and 10th all came in together. And then I got to pick up my pacer and I was feeling really good. Like it wasn't a very hot day. Things were just going really well. In the first 100, I always feel weird saying the first 100K of the course. There were definitely some hard parts, like this portion called Devil's Thumb. You kind of hiking out of that, and I was like, oh goodness gracious, like this is not going to end well. But then you just like you have the highs and lows, I was having the normal highs and lows that you do in 100-mile,
right?
Where you feel great at some points and terrible at some points. And then I picked up my first pacer, Jesse, at Forest Hill. And he just kept me moving through to Recce Chucky. And when we got to Recce Chucky, we heard that Courtney DeWalter had dropped because of injury.
Right.
So I think at that point I was in 8th. And so I was like, okay, like I had the motivation to keep going, and my pacers just kept me moving. And I knew that 9th place, like I had a good buffer. And managed to come in 8th in the end. So that was really exciting.
So you came in 8th place overall. So crossing the finish line, what was that like? 8th place, and you're going back.
Surreal.
Yeah. It was totally surreal. And my friends were there, and I when I came in onto the track, I thought it said like, I thought I had seconds until it said 19 hours.
Right.
So, but I actually had like 2 minutes. I just couldn't read the clock properly. And so I was sprinting so fast towards the finish line because I wanted to come in under 19 hours. And then when I got there, I realized I was like, oh, I had 2 minutes to get there. So it's like, I looked kind of silly at the end, but yeah, the finish line was quite quiet at that point because it was maybe midnight. And at that point, the field is so spread out. Like, I think the next person came in an hour after me.
Everyone's wondering, okay, then who are you all of a sudden? Like, you're a fresh face in the ultra community as far as Western States goes, and is everybody wondering who you are?
Maybe. I think I was the only person up there who, like, in the top 10 who was unsponsored. Yeah, and I think, at that point, definitely people are kind of a little bit more curious on, oh, who's that person?
She's from Canada.
Yeah, Kat from Canada was my name.
And then you're just going to go back in 2020. And then the world said that ain't happening.
Nope.
How did you deal with 2020?
The disappointment.
Just generally 2020. How everything just shuts down. How are you able to handle that?
It was tough. I think especially like coming off of Western States in 2019 and kind of gearing up for a really exciting year of races. And then that just kind of falling apart slowly in the beginning as the pandemic worsened. I really used running as a tool to manage mental health, in all honesty. Like, I still trained with my coach and had a pretty strict running schedule, but I think that helped because everything else was just chaos, and having this running schedule and going out in the mornings every day and just maintaining that really helped me stay in line and
grounded, I guess.
Grounded. It really did.
You felt then, back to Western States this year, you felt pretty good going into it then. Your training's done and you feel like you're going to repeat 2019. Is that what the feeling was?
Yeah, I was feeling really confident with my training block. The points that were giving me anxiety was the heat training. No saunas in Vancouver were open. So because we were just stuck in Vancouver, like, I couldn't go anywhere to do the training. And I was seeing so many of the athletes who were in the race and like running around California, getting in all these amazing hot runs.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'll just go run in the rain in Vancouver again at sea level. But like, all that aside, like, I got every single run in and felt really good with what I was able to get in. For training and I got in a couple of 50Ks and had some really like high mileage weeks. So I was confident, especially compared to the training and like my mental capacity going into 2019, like having all those races I did in 2019 and being a bit fatigued by the time I started the race.
Right.
Like, I felt ready to go for this one.
So then at the start line, and then you started the race, and then how did things go? Because I don't want to say things went south, because you still did pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but what really happened out there?
Yeah. So I started, one thing, I woke up with a headache in the morning. And so I don't know if that had to do with elevation or like tight muscles. I'm not sure. So that wasn't a great start. I was also, like, this plays a huge part. I was running at a point in my cycle, probably like the worst day I could have been running, in terms of I get really emotional PMS. And so it really affects my mental state.
Right.
So, I think like that, I mean, there's nothing I could have done about that. I knew that it was going to be an issue leading up, but I was just like, hey, I was doing whatever I could to try and manage that, but there's not a ton you can do. So I think like my mental, like right from the get-go with the headache, I was just thrown off. And the beginning went really well. Like you hike up the ski hill, and once you get over the ski hill, you're just in this beautiful alpine backcountry, and the sun's rising, and I was running with a couple women at that point. And then which just makes it so much more fun when you're running with people.
Yes.
And then we just kind of had like naturally separated. And then I was just by myself for like until 100 kilometers. I kind of came across people here and there. But yeah, it's like a long time to be in your head, struggling. Abby Hall passed me and was, we were chatting a little bit, and she was being so kind. And I just like, I had zero energy, and like couldn't even manage to kind of hang on to her. And I got to the top there and like had to sit down and felt dizzy. And another runner came up and he collapsed. Oh, wow. It was just carnage. There was another runner there. She was throwing up and laying down. It was so brutal. Wow. And then a bunch of women came up, like Casey Lichtig and Magda, like they came up and looking fresh as can be and ran off. And then leaving there, I'm going into the other set of canyons. I came across a runner, and she like, this was her 7th time running the race or something, and her quads were just not working. And we kind of like fell into a little bit of a pity party where we were just like, oh, like we're not enjoying this. And she was going to drop at Michigan Bluff. And then I was kind of like, oh, like, yeah, this kind of sucks. And then she was like, you know what? I think you need to go, because she's like, you're good. Like, keep going. You've got this. She's like, I've got nothing to prove. I've done this 7 times. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll continue on. I need to get out of this kind of pity session.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally made it to my crew and was like, felt a lot better, and knew I was like, there's no way I'm dropping this unless I have to. I have nothing against DNFs, but I knew for me, like, I didn't really have a reason to DNF. Like, I wasn't sick, I wasn't injured, I was just having a tough day.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was going to be a struggle to get to the end.
After all this ordeal, and you finally hit the track. How did that feel? You didn't sprint this time, did you?
No, I didn't. But it was quite funny because Jeremy, my partner, he picked me up at Painted Rocks and ran with me for the last 10K. And he was like cracking the whip on me. He wouldn't let me stop. And he's just like, I was like, okay, I'm just going to walk for 30 seconds. He's like, no, like, we're going. And like, I could run. It was just, I felt awful, but he, I think, knew, that the 24-hour cutoff was coming up, and like, we were out here for much longer than planned. So yeah. And then as we were coming up to Roby Point, this guy ran past us, and we were hiking up the hill. It's quite this steep exit to the neighborhood. And he was like, you gotta run. Like, there's no way you're going to make the 24-hour cutoff if you're walking, unless you're walking the fastest walk of your life. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I can't do this anymore. And I looked at my watch and I'm like, wait a minute, we have like half an hour to do a mile. Like, I think I'm walking fast enough. But then you get to the neighborhood and you have about a mile. And so we were, what felt like laying the hammer down. I don't think we were actually going that fast, but once I hit that track, I was just so grateful.
I was going to ask you, what did you learn about yourself?
It was just really cool to see, not in the moment, but afterwards, to see how you can push yourself mentally, and see like what you can get yourself to do. Right. Even when you're feeling that terrible, like, I'm proud of that. I'm obviously just disappointed in some ways with how the race turned out, especially with how I was hoping it go, but I'm also, like I said this, I think in my post, that I'm grateful to have the experience in 2019 that went so well and getting top 10, but then also this experience that was just like a different level of suffering. Because I've never had a race like that before, where it was really just like, okay, like get through this and adjust your goals and push yourself.
We actually wanted to ask you, when did you become a coach? And please plug your business and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I picked that up. Like I kind of been coaching some friends for a while, like in 2018, 2019. And then I started picking it up a bit in 2020. And then it really took off to my benefit in like spring 2020. So yeah, I've been working with, and it was great because it was a great way to maintain connection with people through the pandemic. And I have people in the States and Canada. So yeah, it's been really great working with people. And I do kind of like a wide range of people training for 100-milers and then also people doing halves and 10Ks. So yeah.
That's awesome. And where can people find you?
And what's the name of your
business?
My business is Kat Drew Coaching.
Okay.
And so I have a website, katdrew.com, or on Instagram, which is Kat Drew.
Perfect.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
And will you go back to Western States or try to get back to Western States sometime?
Yeah. So during the race, I was like, I was joking that the finish line was going to be my retirement party, and that I was never running Western States again. I was never running again, but a week and a half out, 100% would go back to Western States. And I don't really know what my race schedule is going to look like in the future, but yeah, I'm not done yet. So I'd love to go back.
Any other bucket list races?
I mean, I think I'd like to do UTMB at one point. It's not really my style of race, but it's just such a iconic race. I would like to, or maybe even the shorter version, CCC or something like that. So
cool.
We'll see.
Yeah. How could you not, right? Like you were
I know.
describing the scenery at Western. I think it's times 10 at UTMB.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yes. And thank you so much for joining us today. We like to.
Yeah, thanks so much for the chat.
We like to finish our podcast with a couple rapid fire questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm terrible at these.
All right. 80s or 90s music?
90s.
90s. Do you have a tattoo?
I do.
Yes? Just one?
I have two.
Oh, you have two. Okay.
Yeah.
Butter tarts or Nanaimo bars?
Ooh, I think butter tarts.
Okay. That's going to be controversial in your home province.
I know.
Another sport you'd like to excel in?
I just started open water swimming, so I'd love to I'd love to do more of that.
Wow. So perhaps triathlon down the road? No.
maybe just swim run.
Okay. That exists. Name a food you could eat for a week straight.
Bread.
Or
cheese.
Bread and cheese.
Yeah.
That's its own food group. If you had to choose between the treadmill or a -20 run, which I don't think you get too much opportunity to run, and which would you choose?
Probably -20.
You would prefer to do the -20 over the treadmill?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. Okay. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark, for sure.
And obviously you don't like flying, as you've mentioned, but if you could fly to what's the first destination you would like to go to
as a vacation?
As a vacation.
Not a run.
Not a race. Where would you choose?
I think I'd choose Iceland.
That's a popular answer, actually.
Very popular. And there's lots of races there too.
Yeah. There are, yeah, but not going there for a race, just for fun.
For fun.
Cool.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kat.
Yeah, thank you. It's great talking to you too.
Yeah, it was nice having you on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Enjoy the summer.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
There you have it. A top Canadian finisher at the 2021 Western States, Kat Drew of BC.
Cool.
Yeah.
Glad we had her on. She had quite the interesting ordeal, but she compared both 2019 and 2021, which is interesting comparison. And she found out that she just has this mental toughness that perhaps I wasn't there before,
That's
but
right.
now she knows it's there.
Yeah, because once you cross that threshold of what have I got left, you can always say, well, I've done this before and I'm going to be stronger next time.
Yeah, she learned a lot, and can't wait to hear or see what she does next. And that concludes our Canadian Trail to Western States 2021.
That's right. We had, I think, 9 in total.
Yeah,
9 guests in total.
cool.
And what do you think, guys? Should we do it again for next year? Let us know in the comments.
Cheers.